Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for another comic book spoiler review. And uh I want to take a bit of a break from the X-Men stuff because I did a review on the Age of Apocalypse event, and that one was like it was a lot. So I want to take a bit of a break, and I think it's the perfect time because this comic that I want to talk about, as well as the next one I'll be talking about, it's fairly short, but it's something I've been sitting on for a hot while. I've been wanting. It's like, okay, when I want to do this, I figure, oh, February Black History Month would be probably a good time to do it. But considering how much I want to review in February, I want to try to get these out early as possible. So one of it, sorry, here, one of them being DC's one of DC's newest, fairly new, is like she was created around like 2019. Naomi McDuffie, created by Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker. And the art is by Jamal Campbell, who, if you read the DC Green Lantern Far Sector, he worked on that as well. The art in this is honestly just spectacular. I love the art in this. It's like the color shadings and stuff. It's like when something needs to be shiny or bright, it's like a perfect amount of shiny and bright of a shade. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like if you see like a gleam on, in my opinion, if when I see a gleam on a particular object, it's just like no other type of gleam I ever seen in my life. I don't know. It's just like, it's really good art. I love this art. I haven't read Far Sector yet because that one has like a fairly new black woman who I think is a lesbian. I forgot her doggone name. She's fairly new. She's like some kind of one of the elite special forces of the Green Lantern Corps, something like that. Eventually, I want to get around to like reading Far Sector because like I want to try to go through a lot of Green Lantern stuff eventually, because I already done Green Lantern Earth 1 with Hal Jordan. But I want to eventually get through like Kyle Rayner and Simon Baz, Jessica Cruz, John Stewart, Guy Gardner, and of course the Fire Sector girl. And the only reason I even remember, she even sticks out to me at all. And it's also this little black girl too. It's this one, child that's fairly new that was in some kind of Green Lantern thing, majig, and like I don't know, I couldn't really keep up with that, honestly. She's probably also one of our newest thing. Anyway, and the only reason I remember that Far Sector woman is because she has. This is me speaking as a black person. I don't really care for her hairstyle like that. I was like, I don't know. You look at the hair, it's like I don't know any woman outside of maybe some corny '90s, black exploitation film with a woman with hair like that. And I don't know, it's like it doesn't work for me. And the green uh those green glasses she wears, I mean, like, I gotta give it one thing, it makes her very distinct. You gotta do something to make each Green Lantern's particular distinct. I mean, Guy Gardner had that stupid bowl cut thing. They kind of modified it a little bit so it doesn't look so corny as it was back when he was first created. But I don't know, it's just like the suit is cool, the glasses I can do without. At least don't make it super out to here, like it's super cartoony. It is like I can't. Whatever. Like I said, it's like same artist did it, but it's just I don't know. At least shorten the glasses to make it like normal looking glasses and not, you know, something that's impractical. Anyway, because I think maybe because she can't see without glasses, so it would make sense that she wear glasses, but don't make it so stupid cartoony. Anyway, Naomi is a fairly new, like I said, a fairly new character. I love the look of her, and in general, I really love her. And more so, why I love her is the exact reason why most of the time I cannot stand when you're making a brand new character. It seems inauthentic. It's like you're doing it, feel like it kind of feels like you're trying to, at least in my opinion, feels like you're trying to put in like a quota or something like that. Like, need like a paraplegic woman of some color, let's make it Asian, whatever, and it's just like just to appeal to a specific a super specific demographic. It feels clunky and inauthentic, and it just reads, and I hate to use this word, woke kind of situation, and you can just tell sometimes. But this is the polar opposite, because Naomi is an adoptive 17-year-old girl. She was adopted as a baby by these two people who live in this Port Oswego, I think it was called, and Brian Michael Bendis has a couple of adoptive children himself, one of them being a black girl. So this is where he came up with the idea. So that's why when I'm reading this, I feel like the organicness and the earnestness as it, you know, from the writing itself. So that's part of why I appreciate this. And of course, it was around the time when the CW was also planning on creating, they only had the one season of the TV show to coincide with the comic book that was coming out. They only had two, because here's the thing, I'd have to look this up and figure out on the background. This only had like 6 issues. I can't remember how many issues season 2 comic had, but they titled it Seasons because at that time, because writers of comics don't get paid what they're really worth, it doesn't really make much money like that, so they have to rely on things like residuals, or when they create a particular character, hopefully, especially something super distinct, so hopefully it gets picked up by a movie or a TV show like CW, so that way they can get money through that, because they are the creators, so they will get reached out to and get some type of funding from their character they created for being used. And that's the name of the game. That's how it is. It shouldn't have to be relied on just solely on that for them to get like a profit, but that's how it is, because a lot of these creators put their heart and soul into the characters they create and the stories they make us, and sure, they should be paid for what they're worth. But anyway, so knowing that, okay, we gotta make this short. So in case Hollywood, because Brian Michael Bendis has been into like the Hollywood scenes, from time to time, and it's like, okay, let's make this short. We can't make it like a dozen issues long, because they don't, people at Hollywood don't want to read X amount of issues. Make it short, sweet, to the point, so that way, like, oh, we can probably adapt this into a easy 1 season thing in case CW want to pick this up. That also, as I read through this, it left me with a conclusion on the cons I have for this. And it's like, yeah, because it's obvious that you want to, get this done in adapting into the TV show, but it might also have shot you in the foot in a lot of cases reading through this. But anyway, I still remember like the commercials for the CW show for the Naomi thing, but the TV show came out 2019, but late 2019, but it was kind of halted because of the 2020 pandemic. And if that didn't happen, season 2 of the comic and the TV show probably would have, season 1 of the comic, then season 1 of the TV show, then season 2 of the comic, then season 2 on the TV show, and that's how they would have been like back and forth. But anyway, they only did like 2 seasons, and I don't know, it's something about naming your comic a season just seems wrong to me. I don't know. I don't want to say wrong, but it's just like, it's obvious what you're trying to do. You call it like a season. It's just, there's plenty of short issue comic runs. There's plenty of 5 issues or 6 issues of a particular character's story. Like I read like from my Wolverine solo comic that I've his first mini that I've reviewed. It didn't call it a season. It was just like a mini issue run, which did get adapted in the Wolverine movie eventually. Even though the comic came out in the 80s, but plenty of 5 issue stuff doesn't need to be called a season. Just it didn't need to. It's like, I don't know, it feels like, unnecessary in my opinion. Anyway, we're gonna go over Naomi's powers, and there's a lot of clunky stuff here. Now keep in mind, well, I won't say clunky, well, clunky / vague in this, when you're reading the first season, air quotes, her powers and a lot of stuff that's happened, there's clunky, vague stuff happening, because if it gets adapted, then whatever TV show or movie can just make it whatever you want it to make. But eventually, over time, it's been a few years now, her power is a little bit more understandable at this point. So she has power of transformation. Naomi can transform into a superpower form using her unique power. So she got energy projection, energy enhanced strike, energy transference, energy blast, magic augmentation, portal creation, flight, superhuman strength, strong enough to lift a bus full of passengers above her head, superhuman speed. Right now, there's a lot of stuff that's the top speed unknown so far. Superhuman durability, stamina, accelerated healing, enhanced senses, hypercosmic awareness, interdimensional vision, somehow Naomi somehow develops the ability to see through dimensional barriers, allowing her to see events that occurred in other dimensions. She doesn't seem to have control over that yet. Presence detection. If by focusing her mind, she can detect the presence of opponents around her, read the directions of their attacks and movements, and instinctively dodge it. Weaknesses: power instability. She can't really control or know the upper limits of her powers yet. like I said, she's fairly new. So, anywho, Naomi, uh, like I said, she lived in like Port Oswego, and she got a call from her friend Annabeth, who, uh, who her and one of the other friends that doesn't get a name here. We only friend like we follow along with, Naomi, who normally mainly interacts with in season 1 is Annabeth, and you get this very distinct. She got very distinct friends. We see like bits and pieces in the first couple of issues, but we don't see them ever again. They probably show up in season 2 comic, which I don't know when I'll get around to it, but it will be on the list eventually. But they might have more substance in the next season. So, but Annabeth calls Naomi over to this random street where Superman just had like a few minute fight with Mongol, who Brian Michael Bendis used quite a bit in his heyday in DC Comics place. And so, like, more often than not, when people use Mongol, is if you see Mongol in like a DC comic, typically it'll be Brian Michael Bendis, right? Now, because he really loves Mongol, as I found out recently. And Naomi is a huge Superman fan, and she's bummed out because she missed Superman, and everybody else, managed to get to witness it. Of course, Annabelle took, pictures and what have you. And of course, Port Oswego is supposed to be some kind of one horse town. Not much stuff happened. But also the whole McDuffie thing, I know is a homage to one of the greatest writers for DC Comics, more specifically Milestone, which is cool. But it's funny how we never got the last name McDuffie until the last panel, not the last panel, but like the second last panel of the 6th issue. They never called her or her family by their last name. That's where the cheesy part comes into play. Like, are you trying to score brownie points or something like that? You couldn't just, say it up front. I don't know. Anyway, but the fight only lasts briefly, and then Superman took the fight elsewhere. But eventually, he does come back to do some cleanup. And of course, Naomi works at this diner, and so her boss let her go, on 5 minutes to go see Superman, because it will be a big deal. It's like, if Superman's happen to be close by, I mean, and and he's doing cleanup, like, why wouldn't you not go I want to see freaking Superman, because he's freaking Superman. And of course, you got this, goth friend of Naomi and Annabeth. Don't even freaking remember her doggone name, but she got to be one of those friends that got, because at first it's like, oh, Superman's, like, I don't know what the hype is about this Superman guy, but as soon as he comes back to do some cleanup and she see him and he manages to turn around and smile at everybody, and she sees that, and like, okay, he's pretty dope. I mean, I like that because, like, Superman is just a dope character, and he doesn't get enough flowers like he should do, because everybody doesn't think like Superman is not relatable, or like, too much power, and like, it's like, y'all some, I say to those people, like, y'all some cynical a-holes that jerks off to Homelander, pretty much, because, like, honestly, that's what we want from our superheroes, to be decent people. It's not saying like they can't be flawed or have their, personal issues, but it's just nice because they doing something because it's just the right thing to do. And of course, someone like her should be more so into like those edgy type of heroes like Etrigan or Zatanna, John Constantine, or you know, or Doctor Fate at the very least, or something like that, because he seems like one of those kind of edgelord, goth girls. But I'm glad she has like a little like okay, I'll leave room by her for a little brightness with Superman because he is pretty dope. Uh, Matter of fact, now I'm looking at it. If you ever watched the Wednesday TV show, Annabeth and that golf chick pretty much is like a spot on Wednesday and that werewolf girl. I forgot her doggone name. It's like a very spot on thing if you look closely enough. Uh, I don't know. There's something that's just rear my head when I look at these panels. And Naomi goes to see her therapist, and she points out that, and I'm kind of glad because, like, I guess because since 2018, 2019, especially 2020, like the whole use therapy being like a norm for a lot of people. Now, I think therapy is great, but I do highly encourage if you seek a therapist, make sure like unless you're dealing with mental issues or like PTSD from war or something like that, at some point the end goal for a therapist would be to make sure that you have the proper tools needed for you to like think of it like physical therapy. Like you'll stop going once you manage to be able to move on your own. And that's how I feel like, mental therapists should be. It's like you should be like, not the same like, there will be any reason for you to go back if there's some other issues, but it's like, okay, like eventually they want to make sure you are, solid enough so that we and have the tools necessary so when you can go out there, you don't have to come back. You should need to come back, but you shouldn't have to, kind of thing. That's my take. So, therapy should be normalized and everything like that. And I'm glad this therapist isn't played like an idiot. It seems like a legit family therapist. I'm not sure if Brian Michael Bendis, it's possible that he went to one, or because he has adopted children, it'd probably be a good idea to make sure they have like family therapists, make sure everything is adjusted and they're adapting into their new circumstances, what have you. So I'm imagining that's how, I'm not sure for certain, but it's just the way this character is seems very like normal and not played like an idiot or like a subtle villain that's manipulating Naomi behind the scenes or nothing like that. And she speaks to Naomi like and mentions like, hey, it's possible that you might have a Superman complex, which is like a real complex in real life, but realistically I think it's like a term that is like another way of saying like narcissist, but that wouldn't track because Superman isn't a narcissist because he doesn't think he's better than anybody else. That's the thing. Narcissist is just a person who's really, really full of themselves and think he or she is better than everybody else. And it doesn't really fit Superman. But she put another thing on top of it with Naomi and mentions like, no, I don't want you to misconstrue that. I mean by the fact that since he's adopted, that means and he turns out to be very special, you as an adopted kid wants to seek some kind of importance in your life, kind of thing. You want to see yourself as something special, and that is something like that little thing about it's something I want to talk about, but I probably want to wait a little bit later. Hopefully, I don't forget. Uh, but just uh, put it in a kid's mind that they, especially if they're adopted, like, oh, you're special and things like that, and it's like, well, I'll just mention it here. You know, not everybody's special. You have exemplary people can have exemplary talents, and you can be special to your family, but you know don't, and that's how you can easily make a narcissist, by telling them how special they are, 1,000 times over. It's like as kids, and it's like they grow up to have a complex. Like you want to, like, adjust that quite a bit, just so they can, like, don't get too full of themselves. uh and and that's what, like, one of the issues I probably have with this is just like, Naomi's seeking something, instead of just, her, the therapist or the parents that we'll see later, explain to her, like, okay, and you know you are special to us, but you are a normal child. Of course, it's a comic, so we know she'll be special, but you know what I mean. It's like, uh, uh, I don't want you to think of yourself less than, but I don't want you thinking like, this supposed to, so there's some mysterious higher calling out for you, when you know probably not. I mean, outside of wherever you want to do in your life. Uh, but you're not Jesus. You know what I mean? Uh, but then uh, Naomi gets word around town about this. Wasn't like the first time something uh unique happened in this town with the whole Superman fight, and she thinking like, oh, like something that's special that happened in town years ago may have something to do with me. And it's like, does it? And it's like, and this goes, and just, it's never really like explain why she just feels this knowing need. She just happened to stumble upon like a big thing that happens to be about her, but it's just like, you don't really plant a proper seed, in my opinion. It doesn't feel like you plant a proper seed that would lead into a larger thing that you happen to be about you. And you seem to just like I said, they playing this like it's supposed to be like a possible blueprint for a TV show. So it's just like, oh well, we're making it vague enough so when it get adapted, it can be malleable for whatever writer who wants to do whatever with it. So it'll still, it'll still be my thing, but I'm making it easier for like the idiots in Hollywood to like do whatever with, kind of thing. And it's like, God, this doesn't feel like, because like think about like the Indiana Jones films, like which ones, like I don't know, like the Holy Grail. And it's like, Indiana Jones wasn't actively looking for the Holy Grail. He was called upon because his father looked for it. He went missing. So we need you to, because India doesn't want to. He doesn't really care about the thing. He looking for his missing father, and he picking up the trail where his father left off. There are levels that put Indy on this particular path onto the Holy Grail. They kind of skipped or muddied the water on why Naomi is so gung-ho about wanting to put certain dots together. And it's like kid, why you're so obsessed It's like, at least give us something as to why she needs to be obsessed and why she thinks this weird thing that happened years ago got to have something to do with her. Why you? Yes, you're right, but still, you don't know you're right. It just seems like a convoluted thing. So she ends up going to this local mechanic named D, and D is this brick shithouse of a dude wearing, like, all these, intricate tattoos that happen to look kind of like, star maps or some bull crap. So of course he's distinct enough. He must got some answers that I need to. Coincidentally, yes, it is. Even though it's like, you just looked upon the guy and you just assume. Once again, there is not a level to reach that point for her to go to this particular guy. It's like, it's like, maybe like, she, while she's speaking about other people about talking about this, like, things that happened years ago, you could have just laid out like, oh, would have been too hard to add in her writing, like, oh, this local mailman said, like, there was some mysterious thing, but I heard once this local mechanic who, started here years ago, he was around there, he might have saw something. Then you got a reason for Naomi to go down to the local mechanic to speak with this particular guy. They don't do that here, but your mind wants that link. At least my mind wants that link there. That's how I'm reading it. So she questions the guy. He obviously knows something, but he's not telling. And she's thinking like, like, this guy, could this guy be my father, kind of thing? But her mind just trying to dot, kind of connect dots that's not there. And of course he kicks her out. It's like, like I don't want to talk about this no more. And then he drives off on his motorcycle. So she's at home. She explains to her parents, who it's like, I spoke with the local mechanic guy. Do you guys know him? And of course they blatantly look guilty as heck, and it's like, okay, that's a confirmed yes, like, y'all know him. But it's like, what you need to speak to him for? Woo woo. And it's like, this was a perfect time. I mean, of course they comfort her because she thinks like D might be her father, and it's like, no. And while you're comforting her, you should explain to your kid that it's like, there's no special thing out there, or at least, I don't know, just the girl, like, I hesitate to say she has a complex, but it's like she's trying to find some meaning in her life, which is, understandable. But it's just like, I don't know why what is driving her so hard, and what this causes knee-jerk need to find her parents. I mean, at least give us some kind of flashback, when she was like 10 years old, and she was like asking about like, where does she, like, where her parents are, and like, or going to like seeing on like a playground one time, and she sees like all these parents, picking up their kids, and they're their biological parents, and she gets feel a little down about it or something like that, and that just kind of festers over time. If you see something like that and bring it here, it will track why she gotten so gung-ho, and she just reached a breaking point and trying to find some answers. You don't get that in my here, in my opinion. It seems kind of rushed, and it's like, wow, it's like but then she sneaks out at night because she couldn't sleep. She's getting all these weird visions in her mind. God knows why or what stirred that on. But she sneaks into the mechanic's place, find this picture of him as he was younger with this black woman who she assumes it's possibly her mother. And I don't know, the way it was drawn, you can make the, leap in logic saying that. Why wouldn't you? But, just at least I say that for the sheer fact is the way this woman is drawn, whereas like, with the eyes and like the eyebrows, it seems like pretty aligned. Even like the nose is very aligned to what Naomi looks like. So it's like, I don't know, you can make that leap in logic. But then like Brick Shit House, D shows up like, please leave that alone. It's only 1.5. So she questions him, okay, who are you? Are you my father? And it's like, what's happening? What's going on? So D comes clean. He's like, no, I'm not your father. I'm actually Thanagarian. If you don't know what Thanagarian is, if you remember the Justice League cartoon show, Thanagarian is Hawk Girl and her husband Hawkman, coming from, the alien race, the Thanagarians, who are these winged people. Sometimes they're winged suits, sometimes they're actual wings. Uh, More often than not, it's just winged suits that people put on. I don't know. It's never like concrete. It's never really concrete. It's like every writer like want to do something different when it comes to like the Hawk people. As a matter of fact, I want to look this up. Are they actual wings? Because sometimes they are. Not. I'm not like because their wings made out of F metal. Because I do know that. Uh, it's a freaking Thanagarian. Uh, yeah, it's like artificial wings. Yeah, looks like the same thing. Well, not necessarily. Yeah, artificial wings with Carter, but it could be artificial wings or, well, yeah, like artificial by nth metal or just actual like artificial wings, non-metal. But anyway, so they're like this elite strike force. Him and his wife was on this elite force, and they fought for the Thanagarians. But uh, eventually, they grew weary of battle, and they know they couldn't quit. So eventually, they decide to just go AWOL, and eventually they got tracked down, and they tried to escape via this portal. She gets shot and killed as they were trying to make their way through the portal, and he made it through. And the last thing he has of her is this picture. And eventually, as he's just crying and in tears because it's like, yeah, probably been holding on to this, pain for years. And in come Naomi's mom, and just like a freaking berserker rage, even though she's just like a human, she is a human being, and she tried to like come at this big dude with a bat, smacks him. And of course, he's a mom. Of course, he's like worried about her daughter, thinking like this dude might be doing something to her. So yeah, it will be like pissed all freaking hell. But it's like doesn't even give the dude a minute to explain why this woman is just like this young girl just busted in his place and stuff like that, and then busted up all his crap. Even though these guys clearly know him and some type of conversation at some point. So it's just like the way her reaction seems kind of over the top, even though you would know this dude. You just haven't told Naomi you really know this dude. So they decide, okay, we was gonna tell you, but then you ran off. So they took her to this wooded area close by this cave. And then for some reason, like the mom stayed behind, and it seems like a very super dramatic moment. Like she's like, having like an anxiety attack, or like, she's like ashamed of herself or something like that. It's the way it was played out seems unnecessary, like it would lead into something else, but she shows up later and then you quickly forget about it. But it's just like, I don't know, the way you played it out seems like he was gonna do something with that. And one of the funniest moments that still makes me laugh though is Naomi and her dad is named Greg, I forgot the mom's name, is walking towards this cave. And Naomi is like, we watched a lot of horror movies growing up, and it's like, are you gonna kill me in the woods? And the dad's like, yeah, I changed your diapers and nursed you when you're sick and fed you and all that through the 17 years just to kill you here and now. Yeah, that's what I did. They just gotta laugh out of me. But then she sees this massive ship and think like, oh, like, did I come in this in the ship? And it's like, and then dad's like, no, you did not, I did. And he is an alien. He's from the planet Ran. And if you know about the character of Adam Strange, it's the same, because Adam Strange is a human, but he gets transferred to the planet Ran via these beams or something like that. I vaguely know the story of Adam Strange mostly because of certain TV shows like Brave and the Bold, Batman Brave and the Bold, who does an episode about Adam Strange, and that's how I know a bit of his backstory, where he gets transported to another planet via these not Veda beams, but Zeta beams, some beam, and he's pretty much like Flash Gordon up there. And this planet is where Greg is from. And I kind of like it here where it's like, not every character needs to be built like Greek gods. He has a dad bod, pretty much he put on a couple of pounds since his younger years, and he has this little, you can tell through his old suit he puts on. And I was like, no, you're not special, I am, kind of thing. So he explains to her that I'm a Rand soldier. The Rand people has been into like this war with the Thanagarians, and we got word that one of them was on planet Earth. So I was tasked to come to Earth to eliminate this guy. I came down, and uh, slowly integrate myself, and eventually I found the guy, and he was, just been working as this mechanic. He just, you know, you got Greg sitting there doing like this little short, like, uh, playing like they're like, strangers, but you soon realize no, they know who each other are, but they're just playing up the fact because they like clearly like I'm not doing anything, and then Greg is just like, uh, that's like it doesn't seem like he poses any kind of danger. It seems like they've been living this life this whole time. Uh, uh, but then he sees his future wife, and of course, she's like an artist and everything like that. And of course, you can tell by her hairstyle. Now, I mentioned this many times before. What bothers me about current feminists, outside of certain ideals that they have, that seems kind of like over the top. They took away what's good about goth and emo girls when I was growing up. The fact that it's just like an alternative, alternate lifestyle or whatever. It's just like I love goth and emo girls. When they had those colored highlight, or dark or just emo look. I really love that look on a young woman, and they kind of robbed that. So now you can't even tell between those like hardcore bush feminists between just a girl who just likes the goth look, and it's like, or the emo look, and it's like, God, you jerks, you robbed that from them. It's like you can't even, now I can't even enjoy a good emo girl because like I can't tell if like you just doing it because you appreciate the look, or you just some kind of driven by some particular agenda because you might hate a guy because he has a penis. God, it bothers me. God, you stole that from them. You did. uh so Greg hooked up with his wife. Oh, wait a minute, maybe the name is right here because I don't know what. Nope. Anyway, uh she's the most beautiful person he ever saw in his life, and eventually he goes native, he goes AWOL, and he's and for the next 3 years he's been on the planet, him hooking up, shacking up with this woman, and he noticed that nobody ever looked for him. No one ever bothered to double check up on him about him completed his mission or anything like that. Who knows why? Because like, as any military person, if you send a person on a particular mission, it's like sending James Bond on a mission to assassinate Blofeld, and then like you don't hear from him for 3 years. You don't think at some point you're gonna get even before the year is out, you don't think someone's gonna try to come and follow up on him? That is weird. uh it just is. Like, I'm not no military aficionado, but it just seems like, yeah, your military brass would eventually, and especially Thanagarians, you got Hawkman and Hawkgirl show up here on Earth all the time on the Justice League. You don't think the Thanagarians at any point will come looking for their missing person? At the very least, you could have faked your death or something. I don't know. But the Rand guy, that's especially egregious because he was sent there particularly so they know where he's at. But you just kind of dropped that. So then he tells her the story what happened 17 years ago exactly. That Greg and Dee were getting this ping on their little communicator things or some kind of devices that alerts them about this certain signatures, and they get a ping about this weird energy flux that happens nearby, and they assume at first there might be, you know, each of their own people, but they both show up, and it's like, you get a weird ping on your device? Yeah, you? Yeah, like, I don't know what it is. Me neither, kind of thing. So clearly, these guys like had like a shaky understanding. That's why I was weirded out by the reaction of the mom. This seems kind of out of pocket. If this guy was a complete stranger and you never had any kind of interaction with him at all, sure, her reaction will be probably justified, because you don't know if this dude's trying to, do anything dirty with your daughter. But clearly you know him well enough to know that he's probably not like that. And the fact that he assisted in fighting off these strange people who comes through this portal, chasing after this woman, clearly Naomi's mom, holding the baby of Naomi, gets taken out, and Dee chases these strange people away. Now, these people are very distinct, but you never see them again. You don't know who they are. They don't say any type of dialogue. That's what I'm saying. This is like really placated towards a script writer for Hollywood, so they could just have these guys be the flunkies of the big bad that's going to be showing up in the last couple of issues. But nope, you don't see him ever again, so don't even freaking worry about it. So like, your reaction towards this guy seems very weird, even though he assisted in saving the life of your child that you're raising. And of course, he doesn't want to raise the baby because he had too much crap going on in his life. So that works for Greg, because since he's ran and crap, I forgot the woman's name. Let's call her Debbie. I don't know. Debbie just comes to mind. She's not Debbie, but I'm just gonna say for the sake of the argument. Well, I got the freaking thing looked up. What the heck is wrong with me? So like, I got, Naomi's profile right here. I can go and put up like her some freaking mom's name. Jan, jeez. Debbie. Anyway, so Jen's reaction is kind of weird because like, this dude also instrumental in helping save your daughter's life. So like, your reaction is odd. But Jen is human and Greg is Ranian. So their physiology isn't compatible to make a baby. It's not like he got a gross penis or anything like that. They're pretty, like Kryptonians and humans, they're pretty one-to-one. It's just the only difference is, which I don't know, see why it had to be this way, just to facilitate the need to adopt. It could just still allow them to be able to conceive a child. But Ranians can't, allow gestation with another type of species that's not their own. Which I guess it makes sense. I'm gonna say guess, it definitely makes sense because they're so alien, but it's just that, I don't know, doesn't he have semen? Or does his species contain semen? Or, what specifically? You don't really need to get into specifics, but it's like, I don't know why you feel the need to take that away, but you gotta placate to this whole Superman, because Naomi's pretty much like, her backstory is like a more convoluted version of Superman. I remember my first Doctor Strange spoiler review that I did when I first started comic book reviews up on my YouTube channel, and there's this, during like the Way of the Weird Last Days of Magic Doctor Strange event. One of my favorite Doctor Strange stories to this day. There's the enemy of that story is called the Empirical, and his backstory is very Superman-esque as well, where and it was still less complicated than it is with Naomi right here, because it's not, it's no big deal to copy and paste certain aspects of the big three of superhero characters, but it's just like, why you gotta convolute the mess, convolute the narrative. uh uh so it appears that Naomi's mom, which she dies there on the football field, and it's like, doesn't explain where she was buried. You didn't bury her, or like something like that. It's like, and that's another thing. You don't show where you're like, could you explain her backstory and what really happened? I don't know why it took this freaking long to do so, because they did mention like they spent years trying to figure out a way to properly explain this to you when you're old enough to do so. But it's like, yes, 17 effing years. You'd think by 15 or 16 you'd be ready to go. But anyway, clearly she comes from a different universe, a different Earth, and it's like, okay, you don't show your daughter, like, you clearly have to bury this woman to cover your tracks. And this, this is like a special thing that happened years ago, that this rumor was spread around. I don't know how this rumor got around. Was only Dee and Greg there at the time. Nobody else was around, unless you had showed an image of a nearby homeless person or a drunk guy who doesn't know exactly what he saw, but he starts spreading rumors about the vague thing he saw, but nobody believes them. So that myth built up over time. You could have added at least that, so that way you can, that way it kind of helps with the whole point that you started with about, this rumor about this weird thing that happened 17 years ago. But nobody's around. But nobody's around to spread this rumor except for Greg or Dee, which neither one of them want to bring that up. It's weird. So that's how Naomi came here. And then Dee knocked those generic mysterious people back into the portal, which closed in the nick of time, so they never show back up. And usually in these kind of things, like once a portal is open, they should be able to track the energy signature or something like that in order to find a bridge back. And so Greg hands Naomi this mysterious box that suspiciously has the symbol of the White Lantern ring, even though she's not a White Lantern at all. She doesn't derive any power from the White Lanterns. It's just somehow, some way, when you created this symbol that's supposed to be the symbol for Naomi, why is it suspiciously the same looking one as the White Lanterns? It's like, you worked from plenty of times with DC Comics and from Marvel a couple of times too. I wish that we could have easily see like what symbols he would have workshopped before they landed on this for Naomi, because it's like, this is way too coincidental to be a coincidence. But this box, as soon as he touched it, merged with her body and start unlocking some deep core power of hers, which is the powers that I laid out earlier to you guys. Minutes later, she runs to her friend Annabeth, shows off her powers and everything like that, which is okay because it's like you don't do the whole rigmarole with trying to hide or do your secret identity thing, you know, which I guess in season 2, you know, once we meet up with a couple more friends and go to school, because Naomi has teamed up with the Justice League and with Superman. Well, Superman first after season 2, and does no, pretty sure it's after season 1. She does like some kind of she goes to Metropolis and try to see if Superman can help, because he explains to her that he's going. She explains to him that she's from another planet. He takes her to the Hall of Justice, shows this map, which you can look up or even buy a poster of the DC multiverse, and says like, "Hey, point to the planet where you think you're from," which is, when you think about it, it's kind of dumb because she was a baby. How would she know A, where she comes from, and B, how can anybody know which planet they were from? Because this was charted by, you know, DC's Prime Earth. They call it Prime Earth, but somebody else can easily, you know, dictate Prime Earth to be Earth 1112. While you consider yourselves Prime Earth, they could easily consider themselves Prime Earth, but you might call them Universe 429. Who knows? Who dictates and, you know, comes to a conclusion like, okay, you will be Earth 429, you'll be Earth 1112, you'll be Prime Earth since you know, founded this thing, or something like. Who? Nobody decided that. You just assumed that. We can, you know, consider our Earth 1, but, you know, a different universe might consider our Earth, a different multiverse might consider our Earth. Oh, your Earth, we charted you as Earth 12. Like, Earth 12? What gives y'all nerd calls Earth 12? We started as, like, no, we started as, and then it's got this whole thing. But it's like, who decides that? And how, when anybody can just point to it and say like, oh, that's my Earth, how can you tell? Especially some multiverses have similar features with slight details. You wouldn't know. I think the Across the Spider-Verse did an incredible job. Matter of fact, Doctor Strange 2 did an incredible job as well, because they have like machines that locked on to a person's unique energy signature that can properly track down what universe where it aligned with that particular energy signature, so you'll know where to send them back to, instead of just rely on guesswork. I think that should be kind of like a mandate moving forward, because the fact that Doctor Strange 2 established that, it's kind of weird that, you know, moving forward, everybody should just do that, so that way you don't have to make this guesswork on where each person is from. Anyway, at the time of when I first read this in 2019, because I was super interested in this character Naomi, because her design is freaking stellar. But reading through this for the first time, I was like, man, her powers is super just vague. It's like, you know, she just got energy powers. Oh, that's fine. You know, let's play energy-based power characters in the world. But it's just like, that's where the whole convoluted vagueness comes into play with the origin story. It's just like you're trying to overcomplicate the Superman origin story. And it's like, you know, it's grounded enough with Superman where you can probably get it. He's an alien from another race, where the parents send their baby on a rocket to Earth before their planet explodes, crash lands in Kansas, picks up by this kindly old couple from Kansas who adopts them because they couldn't conceive a baby. And and raise that baby with good values while also trying to protect himself and from others from finding out who he is, teaching him right from wrong, and then of course he learns and grows to be a proper person, and then goes off to be a superhero. You know, a very linear thing. Of course, there's also story beats in between all that, but that's very truncated. Here, Naomi not only is technically an alien, but she's, well, not necessarily. She's from another universe. This feels like more of like a crisis type of story than anything else. But she comes from another universe, who the one parent shows up but dies in some kind of weird conflict from nameless soldiers that never shows back up again once a Thanagarian and a Rand person fight them off, and the Rand person adopts them because he's an alien and his wife is human, and they can't really conceive via that reason. They couldn't just rely on just a normal reason. It just couldn't, because. But then yeah, like I said, like the father is like an alien himself, and then you gotta hide all this stuff. And it's like, and then you got vague energy powers because this box I handed to you, they only activated just now. It's just like, you adding a hat on a hat, and you're trying to make it super distinct, and it's just like you get your mind trying to anchor it. And Superman, you can anchor it in a logical, in a logical level. Oh God, it's just it's a lot. And so and when the box merged with her, like the crystal in the Forces of Solitude, when Clark got it, built up, and he hears the voice of his, birth father. The box contained information held by her mother, and saying like, "Oh, we're from a completely different universe where the ozone layer got messed up, and all these different energies and radiations and stuff like that hit the planet, and random, like 29 random people across the globe got superpowers, and some were good, some were evil, but no one evil than there's a guy named Zabadu who was on death row when he got his powers, and he eventually became the most powerful among us as we try to fight him off, but it became too dangerous. He just became way too dangerous, and what makes you special is because us supers of this universe could not conceive with each other nor with normal people, but your father and I were the first ones who were able to do so. And get this, the birth mother was a teacher while the father was a game designer. And it's like, game designer? It's not the same like another universe can have like a game designer, but it's just like, I don't know. And it's like you're getting a very distinct occupation. Are you trying to be cool or something like that? I don't know. It just seems like Brian Michael Bendis trying to make, these parents we'll never see more cooler than they need to be. It's like, fine, she can be a teacher. You don't need to be specific, like, oh, she's also an art teacher. And it's like, okay. Like, she can just be a generic teacher. He can just be like a generic, I don't know. Could have just gone with, I don't know, it's like I'm not gonna say this game design is not a normal job, but it seems way too cool for this particular person that we'll never see like that. He's just dead. He's like Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben is like, you know, like we don't never knew what he did for a living before he got old and retired, and he just started doing like odd jobs and stuff like that. Nor do we care. He's just dead. We don't really need to know. Matter of fact, we don't need to know either of their job occupations. They just got powers one day, but because he's a game designer, he just happens to know about strategy, and he become one of our best military strategists. Fart. But in Zamadou, God, that was the worst of the worst. He is super vague looking dude. He can be whatever, you know, Hollywood can choose to make him out to be, because he has smoky breath, or he can either look like a Cthulhu type of tentacle face or whatever. All I can tell, he's just like a black guy, a big, beefy, buffy black guy that sometimes when you see later on, he kind of looks like Top from Dragon Ball Super in a way. I don't know. In some, you know, distinct designs, he kind of reminds me of that, because like, man, he kind of looks like, because I'm trying to like, I had the image of Top of my mind, but it's just like, you know, I haven't seen Super in a long time, and I'm trying to drag that to the forefront of my brain, and I'm like, Top, that's what it was. That's what it's like. That's what he looked like. Top to me. It's like, man, it's like, and it's like you couldn't spend the extra time to like give him, what's his power? We don't know. He just got generic strength, tentacle face. He could have shadowy powers. It's like, who freaking knows? It's like he can be whatever you want it to be. And it's like Loki and Pompeii in Loki season 1. Nobody cares. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It might as well, because it's like, you know, God help you, could just come up with something distinct for him to have. You could have just gone with, you know, shadowy powers, or he looks in this image, literally got like smoky breath, because he could just shoot volcano breath like a dragon or something like that. Give him dragon powers. Who the F cares? You just give him something instead of just making it very vague so you can have like a TV show pick it up so you can get some more money. As great as Brian Michael Bendis is as a writer, this part of this seems lazy. But then he eventually, just for no unexplicable reason, opened up a portal. You know, he explains it, but it's still vague as hell. That he just found the particular Earth where she is on, and he is, you know, is in front of Naomi and Annabeth, and it's like, you know, it's like, I'm Zabadu. It's like, you know, I've been, you know, we've been looking for you. It's like, you know, I tracked you down. It's like, here's, you know, the word where we come from. And then, you know, Naomi, because she is so eager to know where she, you know, her home, her true home is, which part of me is understandable, but it just seems like very, very rash to go to an unknown location, let alone an unknown like alternate Earth, to see where you're from. And of course, the whole entire place is like post-apocalyptic here, and she's playing along like she doesn't know who he is, but he is like explaining things to her about like, oh, like I'm you know, like he giving like a complete lie about, you know, who he really is, but of course she already know, but he slightly give her some tidbits on how to access her power, just unleash it, and, you know, tap into yourself and things like that. And so she does, but then she reveals like, you killed my parents. Oh, so you do know who I am. I was like, okay, so we can cut to the bull crap. And so they fight. Who knows why he needs to find her? Who knows? Could it be like, you know, she has some, you know, because she's from a parental from two super people that shouldn't be able to have conceived, but she's here now, so she has something special in mind, kind of like Zod in, you know, Man of Steel or Flash. It's like, I need your bone marrow to increase my power. Could have included that. At least I can hang my hat on something, but you didn't leave that. You don't give us a reason why he needs to look for her. Does he need to wed her because to possibly conceive themselves so he can have a child and heir? Could have included that. That'd be something to hang your hat on, but you don't. You're just very vague. So they fight. Of course, she got no fight training and all, so she gets like manhandled. But then this woman named Akira, who is some kind of scientist that helped, you know, open up a portal in the first place for her mom to go through all those years ago. She thinks like, oh, are you my mom? I'm like, no, honey. You know, the Greg should have explained like, yes, it's like a black woman who's clearly was your mom. So it's like, you should be clued in that if the woman's not black, that's not your mom. But she explains like, look, I got you through the portal in the first place, so, and sealed it off so that way he couldn't follow you. I'm doing it one more time, and this is gonna be the last time. He won't be able to follow you. So I need you to go, never come back here again. And pushes her through. And of course, Xanadu, Zamadou, or whatever frick his name is, tries to push on through, but then Naomi does like a Shoryuken and knock him right back through the portal. It shuts off, and you know, the parents, you know, Naomi's adopted parents are there along with D, and they're just proud and happy that she's safe. And then she flies off to, like I said, she's going to see like you know, because from what I read, she went off to go see Superman to get some answers from him, and then eventually she spent a little time with the Justice League and all this stuff, because Brian Michael Bendis was writing, you know, Justice League, you know, run for a short while, and of course he had to immediately, in my opinion, force Naomi onto it seems very forced to put her on the League. At the very least, Cyborg, even though I had my misgivings during New 52 where they just kind of shoved him into the Justice League, at the very least it's understandable because Cyborg had been like a popular character for a long time and on the Teen Titans for a long time. We all know him. He would have been, you can argue he's earned his spot on the Justice League. But Naomi just popped up and you're already trying to shove her onto the Justice League because you're trying to like force her. And it's like, I like her as a character, but she has not earned her stripes to warrant her to be on the Justice League. She could be on the freaking Teen Titans and earn her stripes over time. She's only been like, she's barely 5 years old as a character. And it's like, it seems kind of disingenuous to try to put like a relative new character on the Justice League where you got somebody like the Titans, like Robin, Dick Grayson Robin, or as I say, like Nightwing, Raven, Starfire, Cyborg, Beast Boy, who have been on the Titans for a very long time. And in my opinion, I think a lot of people will agree, there's Teen Titans and then there's Titans and then there's Justice League. It's kind of like, you know, Hogwarts in a way, and eventually when you go on the Justice League, that means it's like a graduation. It's like you have, you know, earned your stripes and went through your paces to earn your spot on this team. And it seems like, you know, you don't shoehorn anybody in just because you created the character. I'm sorry, Brian Michael Bendis. It just doesn't work that freaking way. And David F. Walker, it doesn't freaking work that way. She hasn't earned her stripes yet. I don't care how cool her design is. She is freaking cool though. But yeah, I mean, it's like, the concept is cool. And one of the things like I really like is that the brief moment you do see is when she's earlier in the first issue, and she's out in the field with her friends, and it's like, I appreciate where the friends seems like actual legit friends, because you know, certain comics or TV shows or movies these days, when you're talking about kids, they gotta be, you know, like they're on the freaking Burger King Kids Club. You gotta have every friend from every freaking walk of life, and it just doesn't seem realistic. It's not fucking college campus, okay? And even on a college campus, not everybody's friends with everybody of every walk of life. Sure, you might have, like, sure, I know, a few Hispanic friends of mine that, I hang out with. But majority of my friends are black. I have a couple of white friends that I hang out from time to time with, but zero Indian friends, zero Asian friends. I don't know anybody's paraplegic. It's just like, you just have like core friends that you happen to vibe with, okay, and you kind of stick with throughout the rest of your adult life. And when you're trying to make it seem like all-inclusive friends, like, yeah, I know like an Indian friend, like, and I got like an Asian friend, and she happened to be in a wheelchair, and it's like, God, it's just kind of like annoying and cheap. Like you're trying to like, get a cookie from like the masses for like, yeah, good job, you're doing your part kind of thing. And it's like, God, you could just have friends and they can just be, one or two particular distinct races. But this one seems, fairly, reasonable, where there's a few white friends, one Asian goth girl, and that's it. And she's probably like the only one black chick that they know. Or maybe there's another one, I can't remember. But it's just like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. It's reasonable. It's, it's not crazy. It's just like a reasonable amount of, friends, or even like a close-knit friends. Because I think Annabeth, the goth chick, and, Naomi is just 3 solid friends. And that's enough that you need to follow. You don't need a whole cavalcade of people you need to follow. I think seeing Naomi and the goth girl and, Annabeth together, I think that is enough for her supporting cast of friends. And then you got the therapist and her parents, and then you got D. I think that is all, in my opinion. Like I said, I don't remember season 2. I know I've probably read it, but I think that is, if in terms of supporting cast for Naomi, that is it. That's all you need, and I think it's diverse enough, and they're charming enough for us to want to follow. But yeah, like my biggest issue is like the excessive amount of vagueness, just for the core purpose to try to placate to Hollywood to make sure they can easily read this so they can adapt in any way, shape, or form, because you left it malleable enough for them. But you left it malleable enough for them, but it's for your common reader who wants to enjoy Naomi. It's, it's not a solid story. I like, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. When I first read that, now granted, it was like a, 12, 13 issue run, I think. I did my spoiler review on it last year up on my YouTube channel, you can check out. But, granted, that was much longer, not crazy longer, at least, like a dozen or so, like 13 issues maybe, I don't know. Long, but it wasn't vague. You understood her friends, you understood her powers. It wasn't super vague. Her origin story makes sense. It was grounded. It doesn't have to be like normal, like Batman, to be grounded. You can still be a super, but grounded meaning that you can understand, you can put 2 and 2 together and rock with it. It's just like, that's my biggest issue with season 1 Naomi. But it's still like a dope character, dope design, everything about her, seems fire. You need to do something with the symbol. because it's freaking White Lantern symbol. I'm sorry, it is exactly the White Lantern symbol. Matter of fact, I got my little box of, sorry, I haven't opened this in a minute. My box of lantern rings here. Like my box of lantern rings. Sorry, I don't know if you can see this. Right. You see that? Is darn near exactly. Is very weird. Anyway, that was Naomi. Been wanting to talk about it for a hot minute, but yeah, I finally got around to it. But yeah, it's gonna be at least a couple of weeks before I have another mini uh comic book run I want to do a review on. It'll be just in time for like Black History Month eventually, so look forward to that. But then I'll get right back into some X-Men related content. But I will see you guys in a little bit because I gotta do my spoiler review of the movie Clerks just in time for the 30-year anniversary. So I look forward to that in a brief moment. So anyway, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this with your friends. Leave a comment, let me know what you think of the character Naomi of DC Comics. Is she a dope character? Because she is a dope character. One of the you know, cool original new characters that isn't clunky, quote unquote. But I just like her vibe. I like the design. I understand her origin. It just seems need to be more distinct, not vague. But like Kamala Khan, she seems very dope. But don't try to shoo her into like these, major team like the Justice League. Have her earn her stripes. Give her own distinct kind of down to earth villains. Nothing too grandiose like Zombadu, who seems more like a Crisis on Infinite Earths type of villain. Anyway. I will see you guys soon. Take care. Be safe.